Welcome back. A slowdown over a busy highway bridge can be frustrating when you're behind the wheel.
Yeah, drivers can't see why the Nebraska Department of Transportation has one lane blocked off. In a First Alert 6 investigation, Mike McKnight got to the bottom of why.
For weeks, the northbound right lane of the Elkhorn Bridge has been coned off, but drivers haven't seen anybody working on it. That's because the repairs are going on underneath.
We were looking at some recent photos of it. We were a little uncomfortable with how much one of those girder seats had deteriorated. This is a face of concrete that the girder sits directly on. Out of an abundance of caution, we closed that outside northbound lane.
This work is wrapping up, but there's more to come.
To kind of contain the pier.
Like installation of a steel skeleton for added support to the bridge pier.
You can see the hole right where that orange cone is.
Shelley and Travis Forsman own Forsman's Finest Decks, and their business is located about a block from the bridge.
That's
Definitely
not the finest bridge.
That's not the finest bridge, yeah. And I mean, on both sides, when you're passing through it, it looks, it's showing its age.
And the State Department of Transportation says the bridge is growing too old. The much-needed repairs will extend the life of the bridge, but only a couple more years are required. That's because a complete bridge replacement project is scheduled for 2028.
Elkhorn Viaduct was a playground when I was growing up.
Elkhorn historian Patsy Smith has written articles about the Highway 31 viaduct.
It's really a sign of Elkhorn.
That crossed the railroad tracks in Old Lincoln Highway since the early 1940s. But she says times have changed.
There's just too much traffic. It's outlived its use, even though they've extended it to 4 lanes.
The bridge deck is a patchwork of pothole repairs, often 3 times a week. While not the smoothest ride on top, underneath, the shoring projects will make a safer drive across it for 2 more years.
It is still sound, but is definitely eligible for replacement.
Near 204th and Blondo, Mike McKnight, First Alert 6.
The rebar and concrete work under the bridge needed time to dry, but the district construction engineer says the cone should be removed tomorrow and the lane reopened. No definite date yet on when the pier support, though, will be installed.